Śrīla Bhakti-vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Śrī Gurudev ki jai. Nityalpa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtarashita Śrīla Bhakti-vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityalpa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtarashita Śrīla Bhakti-vedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nityalpa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtarashita Śrīla Bhakti-vedanta Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityalpa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtarashita Śrīla Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nityalpa Vishnu Mahabhagavat Śrīla Gokṣaras Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityalpa Vishnu Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityalpa Vishnu Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Śrī Raghunath Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shraddha Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishtapadata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Brinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Keshav ki jai. Palankari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kamada Akarashi Titi ki jai. Titi Palankari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Dandavat Pranams. So, just before I begin, I wanted to mention the importance of repetition. Because when I was, I'll tell a little thing. When I was in Mathura and Keshavji Gaudiya Math 2008, I think, or might have actually, I think it started in 2007. Premananda Prabhu, he was in charge and, training everybody. He told me to learn all the verses of Bhagavad Gita, every single one. Not just like my favorite verses or the most important verses, whatever, but he wanted me to learn every single one. And I was only able to go to him when sorry, Pradyumna was asking, is this on Facebook? I don't know, actually. Oh, I think I might have actually put it on Facebook. I meant to just put it on YouTube. Oh God, I'm spaced out. Let me check. It is on Facebook. Oops. Anyways, next time I'm just gonna go on YouTube. Anyhow, sorry. So yeah, he had me go and he said that I was only allowed to go to him to recite the verses after I've memorized the full chapter by heart. And I had to say the whole chapter. I couldn't just say a few verses or part of the chapter. No, I had to say the full chapter. And so I did that, and I did all the way up to the 9th chapter. I didn't do the 9th chapter. I think I did the 8th chapter. And sometimes the chapters are really long. I think the 2nd chapter was 72 verses, and I have to say it from beginning to end without. And I don't have that great of a memory, so it was a lot of work to be able to do it. But then something happened. Is I was not able. I realized later on. I took a little break after chapter 8, but then because I didn't revise it, I completely forgot all the other all the other verses that I memorized. And that was so disheartening after all that work, all that endeavor. I got obsessed with it also because I have such a bad memory. I'd have to do things like I would say for each I had to go to my room, but on each step I had to say the next shloka, and then only then could I go to my room. And so if I wasn't able to go through the whole, I was obsessed. I'd sit by myself, but after all that work, it was almost just like useless. I forgot it all. So repetition is So important. And it doesn't take that long just to repeat a few verses. And after that, I pretty much stopped learning verses. I was just so disheartened after all that work. And so now I'm trying again, but yeah, repetition. So this last verse that we did was Anyabhilashita Shunyam. So I'll just, today is the due day. So you can send your voice recording of you saying in our group. You can either send it in the WhatsApp group, you could send it to me personally, or send it to any friends that you're comfortable with. And you can say the verse, explain the basic meaning, and bonus points if you're able to explain all the deeper meanings, like why the word anukul. Why is the word anukul? Some people translate the word anukul as giving pleasure to Krishna. But then if you say pleasure, then two faults can arise. There's ativyapti dosh and avyapti dosh. Ativyapti dosh is that it's, so if you give these explanations, that would be, you get bonus points for that. All right. So, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyanavrtam Anukulena Krishnano Shilanam Bhaktiruttama. Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyanavrtam Anukulena Krishnano Shilanam Bhaktiruttama. Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyanavrtam Anukulena Krishnano Shilanam Bhaktiruttama. And also, verses are a lot easier to remember if you learn the meaning of the words. You're not just trying to memorize random words, random weird words, that don't have any meaning, but you actually understand the meaning of each word, and then I don't know, I would, like when I was learning Bhagavad Gita, I'd pretend like I was speaking it, like I was talking Sanskrit. And that made it so much more easier to memorize. And anyhow. All right, so today's verse is, we did the definition of Bhakti, and now on this path of sadhan Bhakti, we're learning the first stage on sadhan Bhakti, Śraddhā. What is Śraddhā? So let me share my screen with you. I wonder if I should read the explanation of Śraddhā first and then do the verse, or should I do the verse first and then read the explanation? I don't know. See, I wanted to read this explanation from Madhya-līlā. How about we do the explanation first, and then we go over the shloka, because then we'll have a deeper understanding of the topic. And I think that will help. Yeah, I think it's best to first understand very clearly the topic, then to learn it. I don't know. I think both ways actually are good. But, so this is, I gave the link for this book in the description if you want to download it and read it on your own anytime. And we're on page, well, it's 182 on the PDF, but in the book, it is page 142. So this is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Madhurya Kadambini. It's chapter 2, text 5, and we're going to read also my Gurudev's commentary. So the awakening of Śraddhā. An awakening of Śraddhā, transcendental faith, is the first symptom that appears in those eligible to attain bhakti. Śraddhā is unyielding faith in the statements of the devotional scriptures. A desire to perform the practices prescribed in those scriptures with special effort, respect, and care is also referred to as Śraddhā. So it's not just having faith in the statements of devotional scriptures, but there's something active also. It's not just like passive, but no, you also you have a desire to perform those practices prescribed in those scriptures with special effort, respect, and care. So only when you're actually doing it can you say that you're actually endeavoring, that you can say there's Śraddhā. Moreover, these two types of Śraddhā fall into two separate categories. Naturally awakened, that's swabhaviki, as you can see here in the Sanskrit, swabhaviki, naturally awakened, and forcibly induced by someone else. Kenapi, by some other person, balad, by force, utpadita. It's induced, it's awakened. It arises from. So one's natural and one is forcibly induced. Balad utpadita. Actually, no. Okay, maybe I am going to do the verse first, because then you can go back to the video and you don't need to search all around for yeah, okay, so I'm going to do the verse first, and then we'll read the commentary. Okay, so we'll repeat each group of words 3 times, and then we'll say the line together, like we did for Anyabhilashita-shunyam. Śraddhā śabde, and Śraddhā, the word Śraddhā. Shoot. Okay. Okay. Śraddhā, and then śabde means by the word. Śabde, by the word. Śraddhā śabde, by the word Śraddhā. Śraddhā śabde. Viśvāsa. Viśvāsa means faith. Faith. Firm belief. Firm belief. Kahe is said. So Śraddhā śabde. Śraddhā śabde. Śraddhā śabde. Viśvāsa kahe. Viśvāsa kahe. Viśvāsa kahe. So, by the word Śraddhā is said to be firm faith. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe. So by the word Śraddhā, we understand that means faith. It's said to be faith. It's faith that what? And it's sudṛḍha. Su means very. It's so it's very firm, firm. Sudṛḍha, very firm. Niścaya. Niścaya means certainty. Certainty, also conviction. So sudṛḍha niścaya. Sudṛḍha niścaya. Sudṛḍha niścaya. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe. Sudṛḍha niścaya. So there's very firm certainty. Very firm certainty that what? That to Kṛṣṇa, by kṛṣṇe means to Kṛṣṇa. To Kṛṣṇa. You'll notice in lots of times when there's an A in Bengali, it means that there's a preposition, like by śabde. Śabda means the word, but śabde means by the word. And Kṛṣṇa is Kṛṣṇa, but kṛṣṇe is to Kṛṣṇa. So you see the A means by here, and the A means to here. So kṛṣṇe bhakti, by bhakti to Kṛṣṇa, by devotion to Kṛṣṇa. Having done, or by doing, by engaging in, by doing. Krishna Bhakti kaile, by doing bhakti to Krishna, by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna. Krishna Bhakti kaile, Krishna Bhakti kaile, Krishna Bhakti kaile. Sarva means all. Karma, activities. Krishna Bhakti, sarva-karma, sarva-karma, all activities, sarva-karma, kṛta hoy, kṛta hoy. Kṛta means accomplished. It's done. And hoy means is. So, sarva-karma kṛta hoy, all activities are accomplished. All activities are accomplished. Sarva-karma kṛta hoy. Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. To Krishna Bhakti by doing, all activities are accomplished. Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. So let's go from the beginning. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya. By the word Shraddha, firm faith, faith is said, it's said to be faith, and with very firm certainty that to Krishna Bhakti by doing, all activities are accomplished. I'm not sure if that's helpful for me to do it like that. So Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya. Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. Let's try doing it without looking now. I'm just gonna hide the screen. Okay. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya. One more time. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya. And then to Krishna Bhakti by doing, all activities are accomplished. All duties, everything that you need to do is accomplished. So, Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. Krishna Bhakti sarva-karma. Wait, sorry, I messed up. Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. So let's try doing the full verse now. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya. Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. We'll do 2 more times. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya. Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. One more time. Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya. Krishna Bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. Alright, so that's verse 2. Let's read the translation which was given in, I think this is a translation from Madhya-līlā. Śraddhā is the firm conviction that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, all one's obligations are automatically accomplished. All right, so now we will read. And now we read just now that so an awakening of Shraddha is the first symptom that appears in those eligible to attain Bhakti. Shraddha is the unyielding faith in the statements of the devotional scriptures. A desire to perform the practices prescribed in those scriptures with special effort, respect, and care is also referred to Shraddha. So it's firm faith in the statements of scripture, but also the desire to perform practices prescribed in those scriptures with special effort, respect, and care. So those two things. Moreover, these two types of Shraddha fall into two separate categories: naturally awakened, svabhavaki, and forcibly induced by someone else, balad utpadita. So, Piyush Varshini Vritti, this is my Gurudev's commentary. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, having succinctly described the swarup, the intrinsic nature of bhakti, her self-manifesting nature, and her functions, now begins to delineate the main topic of this work, the various stages of the practice of devotion, bhakti sadhana. Shraddha is certainly the first stage of bhakti sadhana, the first stepping stone toward the temple of bhakti. Bhakti, or Hari Bhajan, is the practice, it's the sadhan for all people in all lands to attain the ultimate goal. Any person in any nation or condition of life can engage in Hari Bhajan. Śrī Kṛṣṇa bhajane hoy sabe adhikari, kiba vipra, kiba sudṛḍha, ki purusha nari. Everyone, whether a priest or a laborer, a man or a woman, is qualified to engage in bhajan of Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Therefore, time, place, circumstance, caste, or family status are not of any consequence in the practice of bhakti, as bhakti depends only upon one's faith. Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya-līlā 2264 states, Shraddhavan jana hoy bhakti adhikari. Only one who has faith is an eligible candidate for bhakti. Shraddhavan jana hoy, that person who possesses faith, that jan, who embodies Shraddha, who has faith, hoy is bhakti adhikari, is qualified for bhakti. Faith is necessary not only in the practice of bhakti, but in the practices of karma, fruit of activity, gyan, monistic knowledge, and like a mother, Shraddha, the embodiment of auspiciousness, always protects the yogi. In any given pursuit, only a person with faith is capable of achieving perfection. As his faith in whatever he is pursuing strengthens, his heart becomes favorably inclined toward it, and he is ushered toward success. It is true that in any practice, whether jnana, karma, or yoga, faith is essential. But in regard to bhakti sadhana, faith is extraordinarily essential. Faith is the very first crucial stage in the practice of bhakti, which is beyond the modes of material nature and is composed of transcendence. Prema is certainly the ultimate step in the practice of bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami has written, Adau shada tata saru sanga tato bhajana kriya tato narta nivritti syat tato nishtas ruchis tata atta shaktis tato bhavas tata prema bhudanchati sadhakanam ayam premna pradhur bhavit krama. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:4-15-16. This means that first, faith, Śraddhā, develops in the heart of the sadhak. After that comes association with saints, sadhu sangha, devotional practice, bhajana kriya, and the clearing of unwanted habits, anartha nivritti. Next, the sadhak develops resolute faith, niścaya, and bhajan, followed by a strong taste, a ruchi for it. He then develops intense attachment, asakti, to bhajan and to the object of bhajan, Rajendra Nandan Śrī Kṛṣṇa. After this, Shuddha Sattva, unalloyed transcendental existence, descends to the heart of the sadhak in the form of spiritual emotions, bhav. And finally, pure love for Krishna, prem, arises. This is the gradual development of prem. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has described the two characteristics of Śraddhā, the first step in the practice of bhakti. The first symptom of Śraddhā is unflinching faith in the statements of devotional scriptures. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes, Śraddhā śabde viśvāsa kahe, sudṛḍha niścaya, kṛṣṇe bhakti kaile sarva-karma kṛta hoy. Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Madhya-līlā 22:62. Śraddhā is the firm conviction that by rendering transcendental loving service to Śrī Kṛṣṇa, all one's obligations are automatically accomplished. And actually, one thing, I would take, oh my God, it's not. Did it cut out? Man. Anyhow, select all the images of the bus. I think it's back, right? Let me see, because right now I can't see any comments or anything. Verify. Ah, shoot. Cars. I think I missed a bus. There's a car. Oh, shoot. That is a bus. Whatever. That's a car. Sorry, guys. What's going on? Okay. Anyhow, I'm getting distracted. Verify. There. All right. Sorry about that. So right here it's saying the word obligations. All one's obligations are automatically accomplished. But I think also, I don't know, I always like to make everything very relevant to me. And the word is karma. So it means all activities. And so for me, also, it's activities that I think will make me happy. You know, so Śraddhā means that right now, if I'm going to YouTube, I'm just making it very relevant to me right now. If I go to YouTube and I open I have the faith that if I open up a video of my Gurudev speaking Harikatha or something like that, then I'll be happy. That will be done. My purpose for going to YouTube, for getting some kind of pleasure, some happiness, will be accomplished if I, and also it's saying here that faith is an active thing. It's not just, it's not passive. It's not that, oh yeah, I'll just, Yeah, I believe in Krishna. Yeah, I believe in Gurudev. But if we actually believe in it, then there'll be some action. Like, for example, if I actually believed that Krishna is everywhere and Krishna is watching me, if my Gurudev is watching me, if my Gurudev is, we hear Gurudev's antaryami, he's inside the heart. He knows everything that we're doing, everything that we're feeling. So if I actually had faith in that, I believe that he was sitting right here. He was sitting right here in Vyasa-san, right next to me, looking over me, seeing what I'm doing. Then I wouldn't open up that YouTube video. I would feel embarrassed, like that bad YouTube video that I want to see. I'd feel embarrassed. No, my Gurudev's right here, but I don't actually have faith that he's with me. So if we have faith, there's also action. You act on it. It's not a passive thing. Okay. So in other words, Shraddha means to have genuine faith in devotional literature, to understand the purports of scripture with steadfast intelligence, to wholeheartedly endeavor to gain realization of such matters, and to logically reconcile any apparent quandaries. Once one develops unflinching faith in these philosophical conclusions, one will realize that without Bhagavad Bhajan, life is absolutely useless. Concurrently, by hearing about Sri Hari's compassion and other qualities, as well as his pastime of delivering the fallen souls, the heart floods with hope and blossoms. Wow, so Shraddha, hope is contained within Shraddha. A revulsion or distaste for fleeting pleasures then arises naturally. Therefore, for one who possesses such Shraddha, maintaining a worthless life without bhajan becomes exceedingly insufferable, and surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Hari becomes natural. In the following purport, Srila Jiva Goswami describes Shraddha and Sharanagati as identical with each other. Shraddha and Sharanagati, surrender, are identical with each other. This is important. Shraddha Sharanapatyor aikartyam labhyate. Tachat yuktam. Tacha yuktam. Shraddha hi shashtrartha viśvāsa. Faith in the meanings of Shastras. Shastra cha tad asharanasya bhayam tat charanasya sabhyam vedati. Tato jataya shraddhayas tat charanapatir eva lingam iti. It's from Bhakti Sandarbha Anuched 176. One should understand that the meaning of Shraddha, faith, and Sharanagati, surrender, is the same. Unflinching faith in the purports of scripture is called Shraddha. Scripture instructs devotees who are surrendered to Bhagavan's worshipful feet to be fearless. Those who are not surrendered are fearful. Therefore, when such unflinching faith in the purports of scripture awakens, its symptom is surrender. In other words, only by surrender is the presence of faith identified. That's interesting. So Shraddha also means no fear. Because when you're surrendered, you have no fear. Krishna goptirte varanam. Avashya rakshibe Krishna, viśvāsa palan. I have full, that's one of the limbs of Sharanagati, of surrender, is that I have viśvāsa, I have firm faith that Krishna will always protect me. So I'm never afraid. So that's Shraddha. We'll never be afraid if we actually have Shraddha of anything. If such surrender is not rooted in the heart of the sadhak, it is not possible to perform actual bhajan of Sri Bhagavan's lotus feet. The sadhak advances in bhajan to the degree that he is surrendered. What more can be said? Indeed, surrender is the life force of the practice of bhakti. Only the surrendered devotee achieves supreme peace and devotional ecstasy, as well as Sri Bhagavan's supreme abode. Shri Kṛṣṇa says to Arjuna, Tam eva sharanam gaccha sarva-bhavena bharata tat prasadat parang shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam. Bhagavad Gita 1862. O descendant of Bharata, completely surrender to him, that supreme controller. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme abode. Next, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the second symptom of Śraddhā. When a person becomes particularly diligent in executing the devotional practices delineated in scripture and exhibits a reverent desire to execute those practices, that too is called Śraddhā. So once the first symptom of Śraddhā, unflinching faith in the imports of scriptures, is awakened, then the second symptom, the effect of such faith, is bound to manifest. There is no doubt about this. Oh wait, sorry, I got it wrong. Anyway, so the first symptom is unflinching faith in the imports of scriptures, and the second symptom is the effect, the actually acting according to those scriptures, those instructions in the scriptures. There's no doubt in this. At that time, the sadhak becomes particularly attentive in executing the practices described in scripture and exhibits a reverent wish to perform such activities. In this matter, Srila Jiva Goswami writes in Bhakti Sandarbha Anuched 173, I'm not going to read this because it'll get too late. Although it is good to always, whenever we come across Sanskrit, it's always good to read it. And that helps us to understand it more later also. But when people believe in the value of gold, they are seen to toil endlessly with great effort to attain it, whether they manage to obtain it or not. Similarly, upon the awakening of Śraddhā, a sadhak is seen to continually endeavor to perform bhajan under the guidance of exalted personalities, whether he attains perfection or not. One should understand that here, the word perfection means that internally one receives a glimpse of Sri Hari, an experience affording the pinnacle of supreme ecstasy. Such a glimpse thoroughly destroys the internal faults, like lust in the heart of the sadhak. A faithful person who has achieved perfection strives for excellence in that perfection, and a faithful person who has not achieved perfection strives to attain it. Okay, so I haven't achieved perfection, but I'm striving to attain it. Not even the slightest trace of conceit or desire for fame remains in the heart of such faithful devotees. The faithful soul never consciously disobeys or offends pure devotees, for such an act is completely at odds with his attempts to achieve perfection in bhajan. If due to the result of previous impressions, sanskars, a faithful person sees that he still has attachment to material sense objects, he understands such attachment to be a hindrance to his bhajan, and devotion imbued with humility manifests within him. A faithful person never exhibits poor character. Shastra states, Para patni para dravya para hingso yo matim na karoti puman bhupa tushyate tena keshava. Vishnu Purana. Śrī Kṛṣṇa is pleased, O king, by one whose mind does not dwell upon another man's wife or wealth, or upon committing violence to others. So see, there's so much in faith. I really like this, though, that not even the slightest trace of conceit or desire for fame remains in the heart of such faithful devotees. So no desire for fame. That means that I won't just do the activities of bhakti so that people will see me doing them, but I'll actually go and sit in a quiet place all by myself. Nobody knows what I'm doing, and I'll pray from the core of my heart. Pray to Gurudev. I'll sing these songs, Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya, from the core of my heart, not in front of everybody to show off, but completely alone. That's faith. And there's sincerity. Yeah, faith means there's sincerity. Okay, so from such evidence, it is understood that when the sadhak's faith in scripture is awakened, he abandons anything that creates a formidable obstacle to bhajan, such as offenses to exalted devotees, striving for mundane profit and adoration, and hankering for name and fame. Easily ascending the successive higher steps of bhakti, he is able to enter the palace of prema. Therefore, the sadhak should thoroughly understand the stage of Śraddhā. For example, Before a spectacular residential skyscraper is erected, a strong, secure foundation must be laid. If the foundation is not secure, the skyscraper will soon topple. Similarly, in order to erect the exquisite palace of devotion for the pleasure of Śrī Kṛṣṇa, one must consolidate one's foundation, Śraddhā, because one's Śraddhā determines one's eligibility for Bhakti. Shraddhavan jana hoy bhakti adhikari. Shraddhavan jana hoy bhakti adhikari. Uttam madhyam kanishta Śraddhā anusari. Shastra yukte sunipuna dridha Shraddhajar. Uttam adhikari she taray sansar. Shastra yukti nahi jane dridha Shraddhavan. Madhyam adhikari she mahabhagyavan. Jahara komala Śraddhā she kanishta jan. Krame krame teho bhakta hoibe uttama. Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Madhya-līlā, chapter 22, 64, 65, 67, and 69 verses. Only faithful persons are eligible candidates for Bhakti. According to the measure of their faith, devotees are graded as Uttam Adhikari, exalted, Madhyam Adhikari, intermediate, and Kanishta Adhikari, neophyte. One who is exceptionally conversant in scriptural topics and endowed with unflinching faith is an Uttam Adhikari. Such a person can deliver souls engrossed in worldly life. One who is not expert in scriptural subjects, but is wholly faithful, is a Madhyam Adhikari, and most fortunate. And one whose faith is pliable is a Kanishta Adhikari. Gradually, by association with exalted devotees, the latter two also become Uttam, or first-class devotees. So our Shraddha comes to these higher stages, from the Kanishta Shraddha to the Madhyam Shraddha to the Uttam Shraddha by sadhu sangha with Uttam, with first-class devotees. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has further divided the two aforementioned types of Shraddha into two. The first is known as Svabhaviki, are occurring naturally, and the second is Bal Purvak Utpadita, are forcibly awakened. So Shraddha that occurs naturally and Bal Purvak Utpadita, forcibly awakened. Furthermore, Srila Jiva Goswami has delineated two types of faith. Faith in the injunctions of the Vedic scriptures, Shastriya Shraddha, and ordinary temporal materialistic faith, Lokik Shraddha. These are, I think, both kind of go together. So Sabhaviki Shraddha and Shastriya Shraddha are similar, and Lokik Shraddha and Bal Purvak Shraddha is also, I think. The first arises upon receiving the association and mercy of exalted devotees. Scripture states, Sat Sangaj Jayate Śraddhā. Association with saintly persons produces faith. And Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25, Bhagavan Kapila Dev addresses his mother Devahuti thus: Satang prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tajoshanaj ashvapavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukrameshyati. In the association of exalted devotees, one gains the opportunity to hear of my chivalrous pastimes, which deliver knowledge of my prowess and which are pleasing to the ear and heart. By hearing these pastimes, the path to abolishing ignorance promptly manifests, first as Shraddha, then Rati, and finally Prem Bhakti to me. So that is Shastriya Shraddha. Sat Sangaj Jayate Shraddha. That faith which is produced by association with saintly persons. This is a verse explaining that. From this verse, it is understood that Shraddha is obtained by receiving the association of Mahapurushas, exalted personalities. The type of faith generated by their association or mercy is Svabhaviki, natural. So yeah, Shastriya Shraddha is Swabhaviki Shraddha. It is also called Shastriya Shraddha. This type of faith is advantageous in the performance of pure bhajan to attain love for Krishna. Faith that is awakened by force, Bal Purvak Utpadita? No, what was it? I just want to get all the terms really clear. Oh, yes, Bal Purvak Utpadita, forcibly awakened. So, Bal Purvak Utpadita Shraddha, faith that is awakened by force, or ordinary temporal materialistic faith, Lokik Shraddha, is faith that has not arisen from the association or mercy of exalted devotees. Rather, it has been adopted artificially by imitating others. This type of Shraddha has no particular use in the execution of pure bhajan. Upon attaining the association of exalted devotees, however, a person with such Lokik Shraddha can make his life successful by achieving Swabhaviki Shraddha, or Shastriya Shraddha. And you see, like, if you're in a cult, then, you know, like we were reading that Shraddha, a symptom of Shraddha is that the person has no fear. One is surrendered. He has no fear at all. And so he doesn't have to, but you see how, I watched some documentaries on cults and stuff, and in the cults, everybody would be afraid. You know, they'd be afraid to not believe. And so that is Lokik Shraddha. That is, that's pliable faith. They're afraid that they're not going to believe if they hear something, if they're like trying to convince themselves. So it's like on your own endeavor, you're trying to have faith. But no, Shraddha isn't something that you get by your own endeavor. If you try just by your own endeavor to have faith, then it's going to be Lokik Shraddha. But no, Shraddha comes from Shastra and it comes from sadhus. Then it's Swabhaviki, then it's natural, then it arises naturally. It's not by force. Furthermore, Srila Jiva Goswami outlines the sequence in which faith is attained by those in whom ruchi, taste, is prominent, and by those in whom reasoning, vichar, is prominent. In this context, this sequence is worth contemplating. For persons in whom reasoning is prominent, the process of attaining faith in bhakti is as follows. I'm not going to read the Sanskrit, but that's Bhakti Sandarbha Anuched 202. First, as a result of associating with devotees, faith arises in the supreme truth and in saintly personalities. Once a person develops a taste to hear the Harikatha narrated by these saintly personalities, an inclination toward Bhagavan is awakened within him. By the power of associating with saintly personalities, a taste awakens that causes the appearance of Bhagavan, the devotee's cherished object of worship, bhajaniya, in a particular form in his heart. Also, a specific taste is awakened to perform bhajan of him. Thereafter, a specific desire arises within him to learn of confidential matters regarding his cherished Lord, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, and he takes shelter of one or many exalted personalities as Shravan Gurus, from whom he hears about him. Here, the word Shravan, or hearing, means to thoroughly comprehend the purports of scripture by way of comprehending the introductory import of a text, the upakrama, comprehending the conclusion, the upasanghar, repetition of the subject matter, abhyas, reaping the fruit of comprehending exceptional aspects of the subject matter, apurvata phal, and elucidating on the imports of scriptural statements, arthavad, and ascertaining the conclusive understanding, upapatti. So that is Shravan. Wow, that is cool. I want to memorize that. The word Shravan is a very deep word. Hearing means all these things. Upakram, upasanghar, abhyas, apurvata phal, arthavad, and upapatti. I'm going to try to learn that. Thereafter, the devotee realizes that Bhagavan exists in all his manifestations with his omniscience, omnipotence, and supreme compassion. His belief that the performance of Bhagavad Bhajan is his ultimate duty becomes firmly fixed. This is real faith invoked by the dictates of scripture. And for those who are by nature predominantly inclined towards reasoning, vichar, This is the path leading to faith. However, it is stated, Ruchi pradhanam tu tadrig vichara peksha jayate, kintu sadhu sangha lila katha shravana ruchi shraddha shraddhanadhyavritti rupai vaso marga. Sadhaks predominantly motivated by ruchi do not depend on that kind of reasoning and deliberation. First, they hear narrations of Bhagavan's pastimes and the association of devotees. Then they acquire taste for such narrations, and as a result, they develop Shraddha. It is hereby indicated that it is with such faith that sadhaks driven by ruchi engage repeatedly in shravan and so forth. All right, oh my God, it is 5 minutes to 7. I need to get prepared for the Srimad Bhagavatam class. It usually takes me a bit more than 5 minutes to get ready, so I gotta stop right now. Yeah, I'm just curious, was it cutting out a bunch? You can let me know. Anyhow, Jai Shri Radhe, I'm gonna get off and go back online again for Srimad Bhagavatam. Haribol. Oh, and just really quick. So today, if you're doing this program today, you should send your voice recording of saying Anyabhilashita Shunyam. I have two groups, two shloka learning groups. One is for learning a shloka once a week, and one is for learning a shloka once every other day. So if you're in the learning a shloka once every other day group, then today you should send your reciting the verse Anyabhilashita Shunyam voice recording, and also explaining what the meaning of the words are, and bonus points for explaining the deeper meaning given in that article by Param Gurudev that I shared. And also you can read Bhakti Rita Sindhu Bindu. The first verse there's a very beautiful explanation. And then, yeah, you can memorize this verse, and then the day after tomorrow, this is Śraddhā, śabde, viśvāsa, kahe, you should send me a recording. You can send it to me tomorrow, or you can send it to me the day after tomorrow. Saying the verse and the meaning of the words, and if possible, you can look at this Madhurya Kadambini, which I just read. You can download it. I gave the link also. And if you give any explanation, more deeper explanation of the word Shraddha. So what is Swabhaviki Shraddha? What is Lokik Shraddha and Swabhaviki Shraddha? Also as Srila Jiva Goswami says, what is it? Shastriya Shraddha and what was it? Oh my God, I have such a bad memory. One is Balpurvak Shraddha. Anyways, so Swabhaviki Shraddha, Balpurvak Shraddha. That was Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explained. And Srila Jiva Goswami is Shastriya Sangha and Lokik Shraddha. My God. All right. And yeah, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives two things. Shraddha is faith in the scriptures, and also acting on that faith. Actually performing bhakti, actually following the words of scriptures. That is faith. Two levels of faith. All right. Haribol.